Heavy metal
My
rock.
global mind.
Oh Lord, give me a witness. I need to say what I'm feeling. We've had enough of this shit, you know it all needs some healing.
I'm Robert Cavuto, and today on My Global Mind, we are speaking with Chris Robertson of Blackstone Cherry to talk about the release of their new album, Screamin' at the Sky, due out in September 29th. Chris, welcome. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, we spoke in 2020 for Human Condition.
Okay.
It was a different world
Yes,
back
sir.
then,
Yeah, man. It was very different.
right? Did you actually ever tour that album?
Yeah, man. We went out. We did a handful of shows in 20, uh, and then 21 opened up a little more. It still wasn't like a normal touring year.
Yeah.
And so we never really got to tour the record like we would properly tour a record, but we did get to go out and play shows in support of that record.
So I guess it was all masked at the time, right? And it was everybody had to socially distance. It seems like a
Yeah,
time ago, but
a lot of the shows were that way, or outside distanced or stuff
right.
like that. But then that luckily for us, the majority of the shows we did were once the world started opening back up, and restrictions were more relaxed and things like that.
Yeah, everything seems back to normal for the last 6 months, maybe a year. So that's really great.
Yeah, man.
I'm happy to be at shows and photographing shows and enjoying
Yes, sir.
music. So yeah, it's good news. So I think this release is killer, man. I think your albums are getting heavier and heavier with each release. Is it safe to say you guys are no longer a Southern rock band?
I guess we're always going to be what we've always been.
Mhm.
I mean, but you can't wash the Southern off of us. I mean, it's just. I mean, you listen to me. It's who I am. It's what I've been my whole life. But man, I don't know. I think for me, and I've said this for a while now, a record is kind of like a snapshot or a stamp of a time frame of your life.
Mhm.
And that time frame being from the minute you finish recording the previous record till you finish the last note on the record you're doing. That's who you are for that time period. And I just think that if anything, our music is getting more. It gets more aggressive in a way, but it also gets more honest in a way. The longer we do this, the more walls you break down, and the more things you're willing just to say in a song, or or try new things in a song or whatever. I don't know. I do know that it's gotten heavier the last couple records, but I mean, it kind of is who we are. The first record was pretty heavy, it was more of a wide open kind of heavy, but we love what we do, and we always want to continue to grow that. So, whether it's heavier or whatever, it's moving, and that's what I like to hear.
No, that's great. What I love about Blackstone Cherry is the songs are very catchy. They're very approachable, and they're rock and hard rock, but they have an underlying energy of grit, which feels very much like metal or aggressive hard rock. Are you always trying ways to find to inject that into your music?
Man, I don't think there's a conscious effort to do any of it. I think it just comes out that way.
Mhm.
I mean, for me, man, like I remember some of the records that had the biggest impact on me, like were Skinner records and a lot of the classic rock stuff. But man, and I know this is sacrilege for a lot of Metallica fans, but the Load record, when that came out, I was 11 years old in 1996, man.
Mhm.
And it fucked me up, dude. Like for a lack of better words, like at 11, 12 years old, hearing King Nothing and, Ain't My Bitch and all those songs, great songs on that record, man. Like to me, that's one of the greatest hard rock records of all time.
Wow.
And I understand now as a Metallica fan that enjoys all the Metallica stuff, why Metallica fans were like, why they were taken back by it. it in the Black Album. I understand it now. As a kid, I was like, I don't see why the Metallica fans don't like this. This is the greatest rock and roll I've ever heard. As
Yeah.
far as like, I was a kid and I was learning myself and what kind of music I liked, and so Load and Reload have always been my two favorite Metallica records, man. And I know for a lot of Metallica fans that sounds odd, but man, it's that that kind of stuff and the Pantera stuff, man, has always had a huge impact on me as far as
Yeah.
musicality goes. Because Pantera were able to take all the really like nasty, heavy sounds that I liked and put this groove in it that just like made your head just do the thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think it's a combination of all that stuff, what that kind of leads to us sounding the way we are, and everybody's got their own, different influences like that, but I mean, man, it's like my the two channels that I listen to the most on my XM radio are probably Tom Petty radio and then like a really hard rock channel like Octane or something like that.
Mhm.
It's then and I'm not joking when I say this. The third channel on it is the Bob Marley radio station. So it's like I'm going from like Asking Alexandria or Bring Me the Horizon, who I like. I absolutely love Bring Me the Horizon and Asking Alexandria. But I'll go from that to Running Down a Dream or Southern Accents or something on Tom Petty radio, straight into Bob Marley radio where it's Redemption Song. Like literally, when I pulled up to my house right before all the interviews started today, I had to run to town to take my little boy to pick up a couple of his cousins where my wife works.
Mhm.
And when we got back home, a live version of Redemption Song was on. And I was like, hey, it's going to be a good day. It's kind of rainy outside. The song fits the vibe.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying because my guilty pleasure is yacht rock.
Nice.
When I want to put aside all the heavy metal and just have a beer and just sit on the beach or whatever, it's yacht rock. It's just something that relaxes me and drops me down a notch. And
Yeah, man, dude. It's like there's a great band that we just went and saw in concert called Dirty Heads. And that's not a band that you would typically think, three-quarters of Blackstone Cherry would be at a show checking them out, but we love that band, and they're like reggae sublime kind of vibes, but with more hip hop influence. It's just really cool.
while you were talking about Metallica, what you think of the new album, 72 Seasons?
I love it.
Me too.
I absolutely love it
Me
because
too.
it to me it's like all the stuff that the people loved about the 80s Metallica stuff and all the stuff that the people like me love about the 90s Metallica. It's like with Death Magnetic and 72 Seasons, they got all that stuff and put it together in all the best ways. And I love it, man.
Me too. I think it's a tremendous. I think it's going to be the album of the year. That's a phenomenal album. There isn't a bad
I
song on there.
no, I really think like, Metallica's caught a lot of shit over the years
Yeah.
and unwarranted shit, in my opinion. Um, but it was so amazing to see dudes that, because Hetfield is the same age that my dad would have been if my dad was still around.
Oh, wow.
And for to see dudes, like that come out and put out a record like that slaps, man. And that's
Yeah.
badass to me.
There's so many bands that get mellow as they get older, and
Hmm.
they lose their edge. You guys are not losing your edge as you get older. Metallica certainly not either.
We damn sure trying, man.
Cool. What was it about the song Out of Pocket that made you feel it was going to be a hit and should be a real single? Should be the first single.
Man, it's funny. That was one of the first songs written
Wow.
that was completed for the new album. And I don't know, man. It's just like that whole song is like it's kind of like a journey. I love the musical journey in the song. It's one of those tracks that, and all the tracks on this new record have that kind of thing where I could listen to just the instrumentals and still enjoy the music, you
Wow.
know. But it's kind of a journey, and Out of Pocket, I think it just kind of, the label kind of approached us and they're like, "What do you guys think about this?" We're like, "Yeah, man, we love it. It's one
Yeah.
of the heavier songs. Let's just lead with it." And I think for everybody at the label and us too, it just kind of summed up as good as any other song on the record of the way we've all felt leading up to the release of this song.
Yeah.
and just like you said, last time we talked, the world was a much, much different place. And we've all had to go through a crazy learning experience, stuff that, unless you're very, very, you know, up in your years, I don't think you've seen the world go through the kind of things it went through over the last couple of years. This is a first time thing for people my age for sure,
Me too.
and, so it just seemed to kind of line it up because I know that I have felt completely out of pocket, and it with the pandemic and, your band has a change in it and then your dad passes and all that stuff happens in a short time frame, you're not going to feel a lot like yourself,
Yeah.
and it's going to take some time to get all that stuff back together. And, you know, uh, we all come out the other side of it. And for me and for the other guys in the band, luckily, one of our biggest outlets is songwriting, and I think that just the barriers were broke down on this record of, well, what should be said and what is okay and what's not. And instead of thinking about it before it was said, it was just like, just say the line and then we'll look at it afterwards,
Yeah.
and and I think when you go to that level of honesty in the songwriting, that's, a lot of people have been surprised that, I used some F bombs on this record.
Yeah.
And, it's the first time that I've done that, that there's been the occasional, shit or this or that or whatever on the record. But for an actual F bomb, this is the first time I've done it on a record. But we did edited versions of the song so no one felt left out if they were uncomfortable with that,
Yeah.
because we don't want to cast anyone out. But the song, and anyone who knows me and has had a conversation with me knows the way I talk. And I might as well be a sailor. I've got that. That's just, I use certain words like commas, and I really have to rein it in when I do interviews and stuff. But, you know, the song, it hits a little different when sometimes that extra adjective hits a little different, and it felt like more like me to say it that way,
No.
and literally it's not trying to, do anything for an explicit stamp or anything. It's just, in truth, it feels more like me to say it that way.
Yeah. It fit. It was powerful. It fit. I get it.
Thanks, sir.
Another great song off the album is Nervous.
Thanks, sir.
Great riff driven song. Could you tell me about the insights into that one?
Yeah, dude. So we came up with the riff of that one on the road, and then we kind of refined the riff at sound check the next day. Um, and we went on the back of the bus. We're putting the music together and everything, and it was really unique because it kind of, it's really heavy, and then the verse goes to this almost like melancholy kind of thing, where it's beautiful, but in this really kind of sad way, I guess. It's very bass driven in the verses and stuff, but the whole song just is kind of painting a picture. I mean, it's obviously very reflective. The song starts out memory lane. It's 85, a baby boy with big blue eyes. And it's
Mhm.
yours truly. But it's just lyrically that song from my input, anyways, is all the things that throughout my life made me feel the way that I feel in those times, and it's a very honest song, and it's the truth because, a lot of times for me, it's when I feel that anxiety coming on, if I dive into it, then it just spirals,
Yeah.
and that's the line, I get nervous, scratch the surface, and that's it's not easy. It's easier to write a song about it than it is to talk about it.
I
You know
get
what I
it.
mean?
I
Like,
totally get it.
but I'm very thankful for the outlet of music, and I'm thankful that we live in a world where, you know, we can put this music out and hopefully someone can relate to it, and that's the thing that I've heard from people so far And I've actually had people reach out to me and just say that, they love these new songs and the new approach and the lyric content and how we're going even deeper now into ourselves and things like that. And it really means a lot, because like I said, we did this whole record on our own,
Yeah.
and we did it in a theater in Glasgow, Kentucky.
Yeah.
And we just rented out the theater, set the drums up, mic'd up the room, and we were hands on with every bit of it. So we're very proud of it, and we're very close to this record. And the songs go over great live, But the biggest thing so far is people seem to be really. We took a chance, with letting words be in songs and with going heavier and doing things the way we do it. But it seems to be working out the way we had hoped, and people are accepting it for what it is, and truly appreciate it. And that's all you can ever ask for as a musician is that people accept and appreciate what you do. Because at the end of the day, as an artist, it's all interpretation to what someone thinks it is, man.
Yeah.
Just because we feel like we made a great record doesn't mean that everybody else is going to feel that way. You can only hope that.
And your fans enjoy it.
Yeah, man. And it's so far what we've seen, it's a majority overwhelming hell yeah, So that's always a great feeling.
You talked about your father passing. Did you write a song for him on this album?
There is one, man.
Which one?
There's a song called "Raindrops on a Rose,"
I gotta go
and
watch it again. Listen to it again. Excuse me.
yeah, yeah, man. That one, it's labeled "Roar" with a period
Yeah.
after each letter.
Yeah.
Yeah. But and I liked calling the song "Roar" instead of "Raindrops on a Rose" because that's one of the other feelings of that whole thing. I just wanting to scream. And no, that song was literally inspired by a day much like today where it's been rainy and stuff. My dad would come over and we'd sit on the porch and enjoy our mornings together. And because he lived right beside me, and there's a rose bush that is right beside where we would sit, and it was raining, and I was just watching the water, kind of build up on the rose petals, and next thing you know, it would be too heavy and it would just have to let go and completely start over again. And it really resonated with me that that was the situation we were in with my dad. As beautiful as all the moments were, and as beautiful as that water on that rose petal was, at some point it was going to have to let go and go away, and we were going to have to start over again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that title just stuck in my head, man. And that song was written before my dad passed, and he got to hear it, and he absolutely loved it. But
Nice.
that one, my dad had stage 4 cancer, and he's a hell of a fighter, hell of a man. He's my
Yeah.
hero, and I miss him every day. But he's always with me, and there's a song for him in that one for sure.
Great. So my parents, they're always with me every day, watching over me,
Yes,
watching the
sir.
interview right now from heaven.
Absolutely.
So yeah, you talked a little bit about recording the album in the Plaza Theater in Kentucky.
Mhm.
It's got such a positive vibe to it and energy. Is that what you were going for in that environment?
Man, it was really just the Sonics, honestly.
Hmm.
We had recorded or worked in a lot of the studios around the area, and we were wanting a drum sound that was different that we had never went for before, really. And we do shows in the Plaza. The drums always sound amazing, so we just were like, what if?
Yeah.
So we rented out the room and set it up, and it worked, and it sounded absolutely amazing, and it was a unique kind of different sound. And we it was cool because we mic'd up the room and everything, and it sounds like a castle, man, when you solo out drums and stuff. It's amazing.
Would you ever consider doing that again on your next album?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's cool.
I'd do it again in a heartbeat, man.
Do you have any favorite memories during the recording sessions of this album
Um,
location?
I love it all, man. Like for it, I'm a studio guy. I absolutely love it. I could live in a studio when we're not on the road, just stay in one day in, day out, because there's something about being in the studio that, every night you play a show, you do it again tomorrow night, and things are different every night. But for however long that song is, you're making forever when you're in the studio. And there's something about that is just I don't know. It just it like it completely grabs me and embraces me and doesn't let me out of its grasp, man. I just love it. I get eat up with it.
That is awesome. Did you film it? I know that fans like to sometimes see like the behind the scenes of the recording of the sessions.
I know there's cell phone footage. Unfortunately, the guy that normally does a lot of our content, video content, wasn't around when we were recording the record. The two different sessions we did, and we didn't get that. But we do have some cell phone stuff that hopefully will come out, at some point, stuff like that.
That'd be cool. I'd like to see that. Um, is there any songs off of Screamin' at the Sky that really embodies your guitar tone?
Man, it's crazy. Tone is one of those things that I am always chasing and always trying to find the one that I'm after. And the whole new guitar, the whole new record, man, I recorded with a DI. I didn't use an actual amp. I used Helix Native um, for all my guitar parts on the record. And funnily enough, some of the solos are from the demos, and the demos aren't even tracked with a good DI or channel strip. Like it's the demos, when we do our demos, we do them with an iRig on the back of the bus, or I've got one of those SSL 2C, whatever, the two channel SSL, it's like $200 or whatever. But like, I think about half the guitar solos on the record or so ended up being the ones that I did on the demos, and we all liked them. So we just kept
Yeah.
them. And it would be literally most of the time, most of those were one of my Chapman guitars plugged into an iRig straight into Pro Tools, and I was just using Helix Native or the Line 6 came out with I think it's called Metallurgy
Okay.
plugin. That's a really good one. I really like that one. But live, I've been going back to my Kemper, man. I just use a Kemper stage live. I've been a digital guy for probably since sometime around 17, 18. I went over to the digital dark side, and I really haven't looked back, man. I've still got amps that I play around home, or if I go out and jam with friends or whatever, I'll just take a small combo amp or something. But for touring and recording, I really prefer to have my Kemper or one of my modeling units to an amp. And I don't know why really, but I do. And I think it's because I've been using them all so long now that I don't have to go out and move a mic,
Right.
7 or 8 times. I don't have to spend an hour dialing in a sound that I'm hearing for a lead sound. I can literally have it pulled up within just a minute or two from scratch.
Makes sense.
I can have a lead sound that I hear in my head pulled straight up instead of, and I know that, that sounds like a lazy way of doing it, but it's when you're making records on your own and in today's market, whether you're on a record label or not, time is money,
Yes.
and if I can go through, if I have a quality enough product that I can go through and find the sound that I'm looking for, as opposed to spending 2 hours going through microphones and mic placement and speaker choice of the cabinet, because every speaker in a cabinet sounds different.
Yeah.
You put that same 57 or 421 on the cap edge and put it on all four speakers and record the same part, and they're all four going to sound different some way.
It's true.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So I went over to the digital side of stuff, and the digital side of stuff is so good now that I would be willing to bet 95 out of 100 guitar players sat in a room with a blindfold, listen to a guitar through a PA, would not know the difference between a digital unit dialed in really well or the real amp right beside it.
No,
I
I
you
get
know,
it.
so and for me, it's like, dude, we went to South America one time and I blew up 3 amps in 2 days from backline companies. And I said right then and there, I cannot go do fly dates again without some kind of system that I can take with me that is all inclusive, right? Whether that be, a power amp and a preamp on a pedal board because they were making that stuff, or whether that ends up being, sorry, I thought someone was at my house, but it's the neighbors. Or whether that ends up being, a modeling unit. I ended up going with the Line 6 Helix after a lot of research. I went and tried one out, picked it up, bought it, and originally bought it just for fly dates. And it ended up being something that really pulled me into the digital side of guitar stuff and guitar technology. Because before that, man, I was a pedal board and a tube amp, and I told all my buddies and bands, that they played almost amps when they would pull out their Kempers or
Yeah.
Axe Effects units. I was like, yeah, it's a nice almost amp, but it ain't got no tubes in it. That was me. I was that guy, man. And now, we show up and my entire rig is a pedal board. My wireless unit I've got the Shure ULXD underneath my pedal board. The antennas come right out the sides. I've got a Kemper stage and a wah, and that's all I use, and
You
it's
know, I
that
know
and a
people
5-space guitar vault, and I could tour with anything I need.
I actually I spoke to the guitar player in Halloween, same exact scenario. He says when you're traveling from country to country and then you're going overseas to the United States, he goes, it's an expense to take multiple amps. And to your point, he didn't even talk about blowing up the amps, but he just says, I'll get the guaranteed sound the way I like it, and we travel light. We only take 1 or 2 guitars, and we take everything is digitally done. And he loves it. So I totally could get
Yeah,
it.
dude. Like so when we do fly dates, I take 2 guitars, and a sorry, my dogs are outside. 2 guitars and a Kemper stage, and a wah, and that's it, man. That's all I take.
Great. Great. Well, listen, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It was a fascinating
Yes,
interview.
sir.
Thank you so much. I hope to see you guys on tour when you come to New Jersey. I didn't see any dates, but I'm going to keep an eye out for it when you come here.
Yes, sir. Well, we'll have some stuff coming up soon, hopefully.
So I'll come by, take some pictures, and do a review. So I'd like that.
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Have a day. Good day, Chris. Bye-bye.
Have a good one, buddy. See you.
Heavy metal rock.
Global mind.